Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cover 2 podcast. I'm Jared Smith.
And I'm Nenad.
And we've got a jam-packed show for you today. A lot of breaking news that happened just today on Wednesday. If you're watching us live, we have the Astros cheating scandal from their 2017 World Series championship run. Ooh. We've got the NFL opening up and giving Colin Kaepernick, yes, I said it, Colin Kaepernick, the man who has not played in the NFL for over 3 years, giving him a workout on Saturday in Atlanta, which is open to all 32 NFL teams. You will find out our thoughts on that. And a little bit later on in the show, the new college football rankings came out. We have a new number one team, and the Alabama Crimson Tide are no longer in the top four as of this week. So a lot of big news and big headlines. But we do want to start with this Astros scandal. Obviously, this was a huge topic for Nick specifically because in 2017, the Astros beat our hometown Dodgers. So let's jump into it, Nick. The Astros and their former pitcher, who I now believe is with the Oakland Athletics,
Mike Fiers.
He came out and admitted that during that season and in the playoffs run, the Astros had a camera in center field. And they were, stealing signs with their technology, with their camera, and obviously that is a huge advantage. Here's the thing: baseball is notorious for teams stealing signs, whether it is by a player or from some sort of technology. What do you make of this? The fact that this is 2 years down the road. Why didn't this come out sooner?
Well, here's the thing. There's been rumors about this since that World Series because the Dodgers didn't complain about this. The Yankees did. The team that played in the American League Championship Series in 2017 said that they were stealing signs. Now you hear that and everybody goes, okay, well, stealing signs is like knowing the coverage in a football game. Like, what are you supposed to not acknowledge if, let's say, Dak Prescott says a call and you know it? Supposed to be like, oh, well, actually, I don't know.
Let me pretend like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but this is different. They're using technology, they're using cameras to spy on the catcher's sign and to essentially give their hitters an extremely, extremely unfair advantage in a positive manner for their team in knowing which pitch is coming. And there's evidence being strewn around Twitter, on Reddit, on YouTube.
Basically everywhere.
Yeah, of multiple different games, the Yankees series, the Dodgers series, and just regular season games where you can clearly hear certain noises happening when certain pitches are being thrown. Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay? There's clear, and now the fact that Mike Fiers is on the team and is saying this, it's pretty damning news.
And those specific noise were someone was hitting a trash can with a baseball bat.
Clear.
Right? And so let's say if they knew it was going to be a fastball, they'd hit the trash can once.
Yeah.
If it was a curveball, they'd hit it twice. Here's the thing, though. You're in a stadium with, 40, 50,000 people? Like, how you have to hit that thing pretty damn hard.
This is the thing. So that video specifically is during a game where the crowd is not too well attended. It's in the 8th inning of the game against the Chicago White Sox when they were not contenders in any way, shape, and form. During the playoffs, they employed a whistle, a charge whistle. You ever heard that when you're at a baseball game, you hear da-da-da-da-da-da, charge. That's what they were whistling. You can hear it during the Dodgers World Series Game 5, that epic Game 5 where the Astros kept getting very, very clutch hits. And a lot of the clutch hits, unfortunately, I had to do myself an injustice last night and go back and watch some of the highlights from that World Series. It makes me so sad. Because I wanted to see. And during certain big-time moments, there 100% absolutely was that whistling sound that you heard during the Yankees series and you heard during the Dodgers series. So it's damning. And I'll say this, and you can tell me if you think this is too much. When we look at, you mentioned that scandals in baseball are not a new thing. We've had the steroid scandal. We've had the Pete Rose scandal. We had the Blackhawks or the Black Sox scandal way back even before Babe Ruth played. This one though, when you compare it to steroids and stuff like that, is very egregious because steroids can help you, right? But if you know what pitch is coming, I mean, come on. That's the ultimate advantage in baseball, period. You can be juiced to the gills, and if you don't know what pitch is coming, you still might miss a curveball. If you know a curveball is coming, you don't have to be juiced to hit that ball out of the ballpark. And that to me, this is a serious thing for the Astros, and I want to get your take on this too, because this is a little personal to me, because you're looking at this cheating scandal that's happening when the Dodgers are playing them in the World Series. Makes me think a little bit that maybe we would have won that series if there hadn't been certain cheating going on. What is your thoughts on this? Is this as bad as I'm making it sound to be?
You know what? It probably is, and this is also coming, from a guy who's never played organized baseball at any level. I never played as a little kid in high school.
So the ultimate, that's why I want to get your take on this.
My biggest issue with this is the fact that this is 2 years down the road. We are obviously now in 2019, about to go into 2020, and just another month and a half. And what if you're saying that teams and players and even fans had a feeling or maybe knew about this back then? Why did it not come out then? Why was there not an investigation right then and there, even if you had an inkling of that? Because obviously, whether you want to call it, a part of the game when, let's say, a guy's on second base and he's able to look and see, the signs that the catcher is providing, and then you know what I mean? So that is cheating that is quote-unquote allowed in the game, right? That's just a part of the game. But the fact that this, someone in center field is with holding a camera up and doing that, I'm just trying to think, how did this not come about, or why did we not start talking about this right after that World Series championship, when it seems like other players knew what was going on? That's my only thing, is this is 2 years down the road. It's just, what are you going to do about it now? How are you going to punish someone for something that happened multiple years ago?
Well, here's the thing, and I believe the Yankees did file a grievance to the MLB saying that we believe they were cheating during the series. And I'm trying to find the actual information, because I've been focusing on what Mike Fiers has said and looking at actual video evidence of it happening, and it just being too consequential. I don't know the answer to your question right away, but I believe that when I say there was rumors, I believe there was actually action put forward by the New York Yankees. And that's why Aaron Judge last night said, where he said, wow, or something like that when this information came out, because he's like, what the hell? Like, why is this now? Why did it now take a former player?
Exactly.
So I guess I'm kind of agreeing with you. I agree that what is the MLB doing? They took the steroid scandal so harshly, so seriously. And I guess just because it's one team and it's a likable team, they kind of just put it on the... But now they have to. They have to do something. And there's going to be something
and that's the problem. Whether there has to be someone to blame here, whether you want to say it's the MLB as the whole, whether you want to say it's the Astros. And by the way, the Astros coming out today and saying that they are starting their own internal investigation, that's a bunch of BS, right? Because anytime an organization or a corporation or a business, for that matter, says that they're holding their own internal investigation, that means absolutely nothing, at least to me, right? You have to have someone from the outside coming in that has no bias towards what's going on, come in and be able to look clearly and say, okay, separate and just say, this is what's going on. The fact that the Astros are putting on an investigation, that means absolutely nothing. If anything, I think they're almost saying, hey, we know what we did. We're just trying to get a lesser sentence by saying that we put on our own investigation. That is the only thing that I think can come out of the Astros actually putting on their investigation.
I could care less what the Astros find in their investigation. And this is when I keep bringing up the steroid scandal, because this is the most recent. Obviously, Pete Rose and sports betting is pretty simple to understand. If you're betting for or against your team, that's not right in sports. You're not supposed to do that unless it's a sport you don't care about, you don't play in. If you're participating, you can affect the game. Steroids was, they were changing their physical appearance to be able to hit the ball further, hit the ball harder, and stuff like that. This thing right here is serious, because knowing what pitch is going to happen, let's say that, for example, if I played high school baseball, when I played high school baseball, if I knew what pitch was going to happen, I would be playing college baseball potentially in the minor leagues right now if I knew every single time and most of the time what pitch was coming. Okay, because I had the skills, and it was just, trying to figure out what pitches and reacting. If you don't have to react, that's a huge thing in baseball. That is bigger. That is easier to do than taking steroids and hitting a ball further. Okay, and to bring back to steroids again, they brought in a former FBI agent to investigate in that with the Mitchell report. He released all the names. So yeah, you're right. They need to come in. And I was just reading some here. In 2018, the Cleveland Indians and Boston Red Sox found the Astros taking pictures in the dugout as well.
Okay,
during
so
last year's playoffs.
So,
They're a bunch of cheaters.
So the Astros have
They're a
gotten,
bunch of cheaters.
in back-to-back years,
Yes.
the Astros have, in a sense, gotten away with cheating, right? And it has helped them, propelled them to World Series appearances and one World Series championship. That is my question for this entire thing. I'm not saying that what the Astros did was right. What they did was wrong by the book, and they should not have done it. Why are we now, 2 years removed from their World Series win and over a month removed from their World Series appearance against the Washington Nationals? Why is this just coming out right now? You can say that it could be Fryer, their former pitcher, right? And obviously his word is gold because he used to play for the Astros. But the fact that other teams potentially knew about this multiple years ago, this should have been taken care of multiple years ago, right? It's almost like, what are you going to do right now? There is nothing you can do as far as taking away their championship or, finding a player doing anything like that. The season is not going on. You can't suspend a team. You can't find, I guess you can find a team, but, what are you going to do? Find them in the offseason? Big whoop. Like, who cares?
Exactly,
you know what I'm saying? So it's just, I'm not saying that this is a bunch of hoopla for nothing or that this it doesn't make sense or this shouldn't be talked about. It's just, it's bad timing, and I think the MLB as a whole needs to kind of get a grip, and they should have handled this right when this came out, right? Whether the public knew about this, whether other players knew about this, I guarantee you Major League Baseball did know about this, and I think this is on them for not taking control of the situation.
Yeah, no, if this doesn't get figured out, and I know it's only one team technically being, indicted on this charge, and maybe an investigation will prove that there's more teams involved, right?
I would bet the house that there is more than one team in Major League Baseball who is using some type of camera system to get an advantage, just like the Astros. Everyone and their mother has a cell phone, a smartphone for that matter. So whether you're sitting on the first baseline, the third baseline, in center field, it's very easy to go whoop, click your video on, and be able to zoom in and try to get a better angle of what's going on. So it's just, I have to imagine that unfortunately there is more than one
This
team.
should be an easy fix too, because every single ballpark, I believe, has a camera in their dugout because of the MLB network. The MLB network does their ballpark cam that has a in their dugout. So if the Astros are banging on something, this should be pretty obvious that they're looking at, this should be...
This isn't a rally monkey cry, okay?
Yeah, this is so easy to figure out. And the fact that this guy explained it, it sounded so simple too, the way they did it. Just camera set up in center, they'd see the sign go down. Also, you see a wiggle for changeup. That makes it even easier to figure out what's going on, because the international sign for changeup or a splitter, of some cases, to wiggle your fingers like this in baseball. And so you see that, then you absolutely know what's going on, and then the signal gets passed on, and you bang whatever you do, you whistle, and
it's basically what we are saying right now is Major League Baseball.
Me and Jared could have done this.
Get your stuff together,
exactly.
Because with everything we have just said and what we have provided, with the cameras that are in the dugout, and the fact that it seems as though you knew about this multiple years ago, and you, in a sense, chose to do nothing about it. Basically, maybe because the Astros have been so horrible for the last 2 decades, right? And you wanted to cut them some slack or something like that. Who knows? Or maybe because they're America's baseball team, because they're so likable, they've got Justin Verlander, they've got a bunch of great players on their roster. Whatever the case is, this, I believe, is on Major League Baseball and the Houston Astros for cheating. I'm not saying that they are going to be able to get punished, but Major League Baseball has to do a better job of regulating their own sport.
They need to get punished, and it will be interesting to see what the punishments are, equal to, or when these guys get caught with steroids and drugs and stuff like that. What is AJ Hinch's involvement? Is he going to get suspended for a season, maybe? For if it's very egregious, it's a clear-cut cheating scam. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it was just employed during the playoffs or in games where they really needed to win. I don't know, but if it's a whole season thing and you're literally just cheating all season, maybe that's why fires lead up. And there was a couple other people that mentioned this too, that just names haven't come out. Mike Fiers just being the most famous because he's a starting pitcher for the A's and he was a pitcher for them back then. But maybe he just felt bad. He's like, hey, I knew we were cheating, and now this team's almost won the World Series again, and now I'm not on their team. And it's like, well, if we face them every year like 25 times. I don't want them cheating against us, right? So good on Mike Fiers. Shout out to Mike Fiers for actually ratting out. I know ratting is not a
That's usually not a good
thing. Usually a good thing in our society. But if you're a Dodgers fan and you lost the World Series to Houston, you take it personal. So shout out to Mike Fiers. Let's sign him in the offseason. Okay, let's move on to another controversial topic, and that is Colin Kaepernick is having a workout this weekend. And this is the first of its kind, I believe, for Colin to have a kind of NFL-sponsored workout. This came out yesterday, I believe, or Monday. I can't remember exactly what day it was, but it was a surprise to most people that this was going to happen. Everybody's invited, all 32 teams, and if they can't make it, all 32 teams will get a video of Colin Kaepernick's workout. But there has been kind of some weird things going on after it's been announced. The NFL is now not allowing Kaepernick to change the date. He has to do it this Saturday, or he doesn't get to do it for the rest of the season. And also, there was one more thing. What was the other thing the NFL did?
The fact that the NFL is not going to release who is coming to this workout.
That just came out.
Colin Kaepernick is, in a sense, going into this blind. He doesn't know if one team or all 32 teams will be represented during this workout, which to me is just a little sketchy. And once again, the NFL, proving that, well, in the very beginning, this looked like, the NFL may be turning its head. They're trying to actually have a relationship with Colin Kaepernick. In the end, it seems more like some type of scheme and sought out plan to look like the good guys, when in reality, we all know what the NFL and who the NFL really is.
No, obviously it's a great thing that Colin Kaepernick is getting this workout, because every other quarterback that's ever played football has gotten to work out when they want to keep playing. Colin Kaepernick has kept saying that he wants to play football, although he is an activist and although he's been doing a lot of stuff outside the football world, he still wants to play. And he's been working out,
he said for
every single week.
3 years.
For every single week.
Religiously, 5 days a week, he has been working out. He said he's been waiting for this opportunity for that long. He seems hungry, he seems eager. Sources that have seen him or that have been close to him say that he is in fantastic shape. Now, that may be great shape. You don't know what football shape is. And I think the telling thing is this workout on Saturday is going to be mainly like an NFL combine workout. So there will be no, helmet or shoulder pads. This will be a t-shirt and shorts. He will be doing, we will be running. They'll be taking his height and weight and measurements and all those little intricacies. He will be, throwing the football as well. But this is more of like a combine workout as opposed to putting a helmet and shoulder pads on and seeing him actually in a football uniform.
Yeah, no. And that's fine. Because I wouldn't really expect him to be in full pads, all that stuff. He needs to show that he's physically fit to do this. If he's out there running slow, getting gassed, that's obviously, you don't need shoulder pads and a helmet to see that. So you get it past this first kind of exam in a way. If he looks really, really good at the other teams, then we'll see more physically challenging workouts and stuff like that, or at least with the helmet and shoulder pads on. But Jared, what does this mean? Is this another step? Is this a step in the right direction, or is this just the NFL trying to cover its ass?
I don't know. When this first came out yesterday, I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, the NFL is actually not admitting guilt, but showing some sort of compassion and saying, hey, we want to give this player another opportunity to be able to show that he can play in the league and potentially give him a chance to sign with a team. And then the more reports come out today that, the NFL is not willing to change the schedule of this. Colin Kaepernick found out about this just this week. So even though he has been preparing and it seems like he is in shape, he hasn't necessarily been preparing for this workout.
Yeah, so when we found out, he found out.
Exactly.
Which is usually not what happens in the NFL. Normally, Kaepernick would have known about this maybe at least a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, maybe even before that. He found out when Adam Schefter reported it, essentially, like we all did. So it's almost like if we had to work out, we're in the same scenario that Colin Kaepernick.
And I want to bring up another point that may be overlooked here. Whether this is a private workout with the team, whether this is a combine workout in a sense, a lot of times players know the drills and the aspects of this workout that's going to be taking place, right? Now, you may not know if you're in an interview what questions a reporter will ask you, but when you're on the field, you have an idea of the drills that you're going to be running, and you more than likely practice those drills hundreds of times to be the best prepared, right? Colin Kaepernick, in this sense, it seems like, doesn't know what he's really walking into. All he knows is that the NFL has opened a door, or at least cracked a door open for him to come into a workout. Who knows if the NFL is going to say, oh, you can only do these types of...
You can only throw left-handed, Colin.
I'm sorry, but I'm not putting anything past the NFL since they are not even allowing Kaepernick to know who will be showing up to this event, it would not surprise me if they had regulations on the time limit of this event, if it can only go for 1 hour, and what Colin Kaepernick can actually do. So even though this will be a chance for him to show his face to NFL teams, I'm very hesitant to say that this will actually help him in the long run.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question too, because when I first heard this, I thought similar to you. I thought, this is a good thing. Colin Kaepernick's going to get a chance. The NFL's putting this on. This is good. Now hearing that there's more and more restrictions, I mean, literally by the hour, we just learned about this right before we started recording this podcast, the thing about the teams. Yeah, you're right. If they keep putting more restrictions on, it's almost a detriment because let's say he doesn't know what's happening and maybe he's only allowed to do things that aren't toward his skill set and he looks worse and then the NFL doesn't have to deal with it because he looked bad and teams don't want to sign him.
Guess what? That would be in the NFL's hands, right?
That's the conspiracy theory with all this. So, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope the NFL isn't a bunch of 12-year-olds and doesn't just keep trying to screw over Colin Kaepernick.
Well, let's see if the NFL is a bunch of 12-year-olds. Let's hope that they've learned from some of their mistakes and that they're willing to grow and move on because we all know that they're a bunch of kids.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Roger Goodell has been sitting at the kids' table for a long time. So yeah, it's just now. So let's jump in. We conspiracy theories and all, but let's hope this goes well. And I predict it to go somewhat well for Colin Kaepernick. Who are some teams that could grab him? Do we see him getting signed this year as in a backup role? Because I don't think you're really going to throw him in as a starter this late in the season, especially if you're trying to make the playoffs. That would be a very crazy thing to do, even with Colin Kaepernick's skill set. Signing a quarterback to be a starter in the middle of the season is a weird thing to do. Signing his backup, not that big. But signing him next year, a whole other scenario. Jared, what do you think? What do you think happens? Do you think Colin Kaepernick, after this workout, do you think he gets signed before the 2019 season is over?
I would not be surprised. And I hope that does happen. And I was saying this before the podcast started, that I believe this move is for the future for Colin Kaepernick if he does get signed. And like Nick just mentioned, this isn't necessarily for a team to bring Colin Kaepernick and be the starting quarterback and lead them to success this year. I believe best case scenario, Colin Kaepernick gets signed with the team as a backup. He gets to come in, learn an offense, get back into, just the NFL way of life, being in a team locker room, being around athletes 24/7. Like, I think we take for granted a little bit when a player, even if they have played professionally before and they've maybe taken some time off, that they can just come back in and jump right back into things. The camaraderie of being with the team, all the little things that go into playing a sport. It doesn't matter if it's professionally, collegiate, or in high school. There are little things that have to go in. You have to have camaraderie. You have to have trust, right? And so that stuff takes a little long. And so I feel that this could benefit Colin Kaepernick in the long term. He can hopefully sign with a team and then compete for a starting job next year, next training camp. But really for this year, unless there's another catastrophic injury, which unfortunately we've seen a multiple of NFL quarterbacks go down. Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Nick Foles, just to name a few. So, backups have had to play a significant amount this year. Yeah. And who knows, maybe Colin Kaepernick does get in the game. But I think best case scenario, he comes in as a backup if he's signed, and he looks to compete for a starting job next season.
It's kind of a tryout, right? Like in a way, even if he signs with, say, a team that absolutely has no chance at the playoffs, like Miami or Washington, something like that, there's the tryout, and people will be watching because that game, those games will be put on TV. Every NFL game is put on TV, but you know what I'm saying. I'm going to take a look. So I'm looking at, based on QBR, what teams need to absolutely be at this
so we're getting
workout.
some analytics
Absolutely
here. Analytics.
need to be at this workout. Tennessee Titans, they don't have a quarterback right now.
Hey, Ryan Tannehill, he's playing pretty well for them.
Okay, Colin Kaepernick's probably better.
All right.
The Chicago Bears, we don't know about Mitchell Trubisky. And
Trubisky, come on, man.
He's literally, they won the game the other day because Matt Stafford didn't play. If Matthew Stafford would have played, the Bears would have been wiped out and the season would have been over. Okay, I mean, when you're battling with records with the Arizona Cardinals, that's not good, and that's a shot at my own team. Okay, I don't necessarily think this would happen because these teams have the ability to draft a quarterback that is probably better than Colin Kaepernick. Cincinnati Bengals obviously don't have a quarterback. Miami Dolphins don't have a quarterback. Washington Redskins, they're trying out Dwayne Haskins, but I think the guys that are going to get drafted this year probably are better. So I don't really see those teams, but might as well throw your hat in the ring, right? The Indianapolis Colts. Brian Hoyer starts one game for the Colts. They lose to the Dolphins. The Colts have to think about going after and meeting Colin Kaepernick in this meeting because clearly, if Brian Hoyer plays in a playoff game, they are going to lose that playoff game. You don't lose to Miami. Nobody does unless you're the Jets.
Not this year.
Yeah, so it's just that right there, that one game proved to the Colts that they need to be like, we run a quarterback that's similar to Colin Kaepernick, similar style. Let's go after it. Let's try it out, right? Going down the list here, Denver Broncos. Are you really going to rely on Joe Flacco the rest of the season? I know Drew Lock is another draftee guy, but not a first-round pick. No allegiance to him 100%. Go after Colin Kaepernick. And they have actually put their name in the hat that said they're going to be there. So
they will. I believe, at least half of the league so far has committed to showing up. I guarantee that by Saturday there will be more.
100%. Two more, and I'll let you give me any other teams that you think. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jameis Winston's not working out.
Famous Jameis? No.
I watched him. I watched him against the Cardinals. Although they won that game, Famous Jameis is sure sketchy as a quarterback. I'll tell you that right now. It was fun watching our defense play him. Our defense is not good. And the last one, the Carolina Panthers. They said they're going to trade Cam Newton. Kyle Allen. Maybe he doesn't do as well at the end of the season. I think Colin Kaepernick's been linked to the Panthers as well already during this whole thing. So that's another team. I'm sure I could name some more, but Jared,
I'll give you a few more. And before I get into mine, I think a lot of those teams that you just mentioned kind of played into my point of this goes beyond this year into next year. Exactly. Obviously, those teams are looking for quarterbacks of the future. Colin Kaepernick is, I forget how old he is, but it's not like he's, in his mid-30s and only has a couple years left.
Not that old.
He can potentially be a quarterback of the future if he's in the right system. I believe the Carolina Panthers are probably the most intriguing team because they have played with Cam Newton, and Cam Newton's style, I feel, fits what Colin Kaepernick can do. They're not necessarily the drop-back passers that you want them throwing the ball 40 or 50 times a game. You want them to be able to mix it up, use their legs to make plays. Even though Cam Newton is bigger and more physical, Colin Kaepernick can still make plays with his legs. We saw that when he was with the 49ers. So I would say that is the most suitable team for the type of offensive style that Colin Kaepernick likes to run. But I'm actually going to go with two contending teams this year that I think can sign Colin Kaepernick. One would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did come back last week from that knee injury. The Kansas City Chiefs did lose the game, but we all know when healthy, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But if you can have a backup like Colin Kaepernick, we know that Andy Reid is an offensive genius, and I guarantee he would find a way to bring Colin Kaepernick in. Let's take the New Orleans Saints, for instance. I'm not saying that the Saints would sign Colin Kaepernick, but look what they do with their third stringer in Taysom Hill. He's on the field. He lines up at receiver, tight end, in the backfield. He does all these wildcat formations. They put him everywhere, and they try to utilize all of their players and their skill sets. Maybe, the Chiefs bring in Colin Kaepernick, and they can do that same type of thing. My second team that I feel that Kaepernick will be able to best suit this year, or would be able to help out, that would be the Baltimore Ravens. Right? We all know that Lamar Jackson and that style of offense is different from what the NFL has seen ever. I think Colin Kaepernick will be able to come in and run a similar type of offense. Now, he's not as quick or as fast as Lamar Jackson, but he is very, very athletic. and I think that he could run that offense better than probably any backup quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and see those scenarios, that would be really intriguing because he would be enthralled into the playoff race, and like we were talking about off the podcast, and we'll talk about it now, just so you guys can hear it. You know, you don't want to rely on a star quarterback so much that if he goes down, your season's over. Now, the Saints, they proved that if Teddy Bridgewater is in the game, they still might be Super Bowl contenders, to be honest, because of how well Bridgewater didn't lose the game. Okay? So, you look at it, that's another team. Here's another team, Seattle Seahawks, right? You lose
Russell Wilson,
you're done.
Bye.
You have Colin Kaepernick, maybe not, right? Maybe not.
Ooh, maybe
not. Here's another interesting thing, and this might be the last thing we talk about on this subject. You look at what teams are going to get. I mentioned the Bengals, Miami, Jets.
All the teams that suck this year. If you're in the top 10 in the NFL draft this year, which means you have a bad record, you're probably going to be at this workout on Saturday and taking a peek.
But here's the thing. Even those horrendous teams, right? Maybe you see a guy like Chase Young. You see the way Aaron Donald, Jadeveon Clowney play. Maybe you go, we're going to draft Chase Young instead of a quarterback. We're going to sign Colin Kaepernick to the veterans minimum, and we're not going to pay anybody. And we're going to have a star quarterback on our hands, potentially, with all these other players. It's a thing. Hey, someone's going to have to pay Teddy Bridgewater $20 million plus, right? Someone's going to have to waste a first-round pick on a quarterback and pay him multi-millions of dollars. Why not go for Kaepernick instead? Fill up your team with guys around him. It's a thought. I'm not saying that's even the smartest thing, and I probably wouldn't do that myself if I was a GM.
But it's an idea.
It's an idea. And you look at the way, that certain positions play with a guy like Chase Young up there in the top 5 getting drafted, potentially number 1. Maybe one of these teams goes, you know what? Let's not rely on a rookie quarterback. We know what Kaepernick can do, and if let's say he impresses in this thing, we're going to sign him for like $2 million, have him play for a year, then we'll decide on signing him later. But we have all these other young draft picks, trade back in the draft. It's interesting.
It's interesting. Here's the only problem that I have with that when you're talking about in the very top of the draft and Chase Young, who many analysts believe is the highest graded player coming into this NFL draft next year. Not even just by position. Like, he's better than Tua Tagovailoa. He's better than Justin Herbert, the quarterback from Oregon. Better than Joe Burrow of LSU. Like, he is the name. He is the guy.
He's the next
right? So
Donald
I think the only thing is going back to you saying, wasting a pick on a quarterback. If you're potentially taking Tua or Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow, I think all 3 of those guys have proven this year that they can potentially be solid NFL quarterbacks. And so I would just not use the word waste.
That's the wrong term.
I think it would just be a different strategy if you were to say, hey, let's take our top pick and use it on an elite defender or secure one of our other positions and then go get Kaepernick.
Yeah,
right.
But, so, like, for example, waste is not the right term. I'm taking it back, not waste. But use your draft pick on a quarterback when there are quarterbacks that you can go get that have proven that they can win games. Colin Kaepernick has been to the Super Bowl before, okay? Not a lot of quarterbacks can say that, okay? And that's including Cam Newton, too. If Cam Newton's healthy, he's another guy, but he's $20 million of a guy. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be $20 million. Colin Kaepernick is not. I can guarantee that 100%. Is not a $20 million guy.
He's not right now.
Not right now. But if you get these younger draft picks, let's say I'm looking at a mock draft right here at the Redskins.
My gosh, we're already talking about mock drafts, and we're just halfway through the NFL season.
No, I'm looking at a mock draft here because I wanted to see if there's any other players at the top of the thing besides Chase Young. Okay, here's the thing. So teams like the Redskins, team like the Giants, they already have a quarterback, have a young guy, Haskins and Jones. Why not? You draft, obviously, another player, take a flyer on Kaepernick, be like, let's see if this guy's better. Let's see, I'm just saying, right?
I mean, I prefer, wasn't in the Cowboys division, you just had to throw the Redskins
I'm
and the
sorry,
Giants.
it's not my fault they're terrible.
You couldn't say the Dolphins, you couldn't say the Bengals, you couldn't say
the Dolphins need a quarterback.
Come on now.
The Dolphins,
all right.
Okay.
I'm just saying, there's other teams other than the NFC East in there, man.
The Jets.
Come on now.
Jets.
All right. Basically, what we're trying to say is there are a lot of scenarios
Yes.
that could potentially play out. At the end of the day, there will be a workout on Saturday in Atlanta. I believe it is at the Falcons training facility. So for those 31 other NFL teams, who more than likely a lot of them will be represented, we will find out a lot on Saturday
100%.
how well Colin Kaepernick looks. We will see what type of drills he goes through. And, if a team is willing to sign Colin Kaepernick, that will be arguably, and not even arguably, the biggest headline in the NFL this season.
Oh, this season and maybe even the last.
I cannot wait.
Maybe besides the kneeling stuff that Kaepernick started, this would be the biggest news since all that. And we'll surely be the next day. We'll be recording and talking about this.
Exactly.
Okay. Moving on, we're going to stick with football, and we're going to go to the college football ranks of stuff, and literally...
We have a new number one.
Yes, we have a new number one. A lot of fans decided to fight me on that on Twitter for some weird reason that they defend the Ohio State Buckeyes. You beat the number 3 team in the nation. You look really good. You're going to be number one. Ohio State hasn't beaten anybody. Okay, so that's that argument over. I think you agree LSU should be number one as well.
No doubt.
We're not going to talk about that. What we're going to talk about is Alabama. Because Alabama is going to be the biggest story every single week in these rankings as long as other teams keep winning. Clemson's number 3, Georgia's number 4, Oregon's number 6, Utah's number 7. All of those teams in some ways have more difficult schedules than Alabama. Oregon and Utah will play each other as long as they're undefeated, so that's their big
So one of those two will cancel each other out.
100%. Yeah, so they won't be in, but I'm saying that's a 6 versus 7, 5 versus 6 is bigger than Alabama versus Auburn, who potentially could be in the middle ranks of as far as teams go in rankings. So you have to look at it like Alabama has literally only beaten Texas A&M this year. They lost to LSU. I know the score was close, but the reason they even got that touchdown at the end of the game, that long bomb to Devin Smith, was because the coach was talking in the corner and he bolted past him and nobody was paying attention. So, not really scheming there, just a guy, unfortunate circumstance for the LSU defender. LSU whooped on Alabama, okay? It wasn't close, to be honest. We knew essentially from halftime that LSU was going to win that game. Okay, it got a little sketchy in the third quarter, but then LSU, they proved it. Joe Burrow, that great running back, I can't remember his name, fought his heart out.
He did.
Yeah,
came out of nowhere. He did. It's not like he's not Leonard Fournette. It's not Darius Geis. We didn't necessarily know about him unless I'm sure you were an LSU fan, but he proved on the biggest stage in the biggest rivalry game of LSU season that he is the man. He can carry this team.
So, so you're looking at the schedules because that's what matters now. Alabama is only going to play Auburn at the end of the season, and they also have a Division II team in there as well on their schedule, which hurts them a lot. Jared, do you think if they go undefeated and let's say an Oregon or Utah wins the Pac-12 championship game, also with one loss, Oregon having only lost to Auburn, I don't want to put out too many scenarios, but what are Alabama's chances at getting into the Final Four if these other teams just kind of win out? Because we know, for example, LSU and Georgia, one of them will have a loss at the end of the season. But Georgia with 2 losses, one to South Carolina, one to the number 1 team in the nation, but also a wins against Auburn, wins against Notre Dame, wins against Texas. It's still big, right? So it's a big debate.
I would say that the committee so far has not committed to having a 2-loss team in the college football championship. And so until we see that, I would not bet money that a 2-loss Georgia team would be able to still defend themselves and get in. I think Alabama would then, leapfrog. Listen, people were talking about Minnesota and how well they played after they beat Penn State in a huge upset, even though that was at home for Minnesota. But going back to Georgia, sorry, I didn't mean to go off for a minute. 2 losses, no, you're right. And because the committee has not proven or not shown that a 2-loss team can get into the college.
Yeah, that one loss to South Carolina. Let's say they had lost to, Texas or someone like that. It would have been a little different, right? But
potentially,
yeah. So it's going to be big. So Alabama has a way to get into this playoff, right? But when you look at their schedule, I still think that they are a product of the early season rankings. I just don't think that's fair, considering that I know they have a lot of talent, but just based on your talent and the way that you have not proven you can actually beat the best teams yet, that should get you in. I give more credit to teams like Oregon and Utah that weren't like darlings. They weren't number 2 to start the season, that have fought their way back, blown out the opponents they're supposed to, and their only losses are against, better teams, right? So I don't know. It's just weird to me. Alabama, I get they're good, and they showed that they can compete with LSU, and maybe they can compete with Clemson, and maybe they can compete with Ohio State. But competing does not
equal winning.
Yeah, it does not equal winning the championship. So why are teams in there? It's just
Alabama is in because of Alabama's name, because of Nick Saban, because Alabama has been relevant. For the last 10 years or so, right? More than a decade. That is why Alabama is just one game outside of this college football playoff right now. They obviously have talent at almost every position. They are very young on defense, but it is because of their past, and I think the College Football Committee is showing them some respect by still keeping them right there at the top 5. Because if Alabama had not been the juggernaut team that they've been for the last 10 years, I don't think we would see them at the 5 spot right now.
No.
Right? I think we would see them 7, 8. I think they'd be in the top 10, but still at number 5 after losing at home to LSU. Now, we all know how good LSU is, but really I think this comes down to Alabama's history and the fact that they're just simply showing them respect, right? And if one or two other teams, surprisingly get knocked off, if an Ohio State loses to Michigan, who is, that's probably one of the toughest opponents that Ohio State has, or toughest opponents that any one of these top 4 teams have left, if they fall, or if I don't believe Clemson will, because Clemson's schedule has been Swiss cheese. It's been, a cakewalk so far.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You go undefeated, you deserve a chance. Especially if you go undefeated and you're winning every game by 3, maybe not, right? Maybe it's like there's that little, it's like, okay, well, you just really...
You have to win undoubtedly, right?
Yeah.
You
and
have
it's
to
okay.
win by double digits.
Ohio State is making it hard for a lot of teams because they are killing everybody. They are proving that there was actually a debate whether Ohio State should be above LSU because they have killed everybody.
See, but I don't agree with that. When you are LSU and you have beaten 3 top 10 ranked teams in one season, I believe that right there puts you at the number 1 spot. I get it, Ohio State. You've blown out almost every team this year. You guys have looked virtually unstoppable, but you have not played 3 top 10 ranked opponents at the time this season. If they had, I would actually put Ohio State above LSU because I think Ohio State might have even more talent than LSU does. But the fact that LSU is in the SEC, it's a tougher conference, and with that schedule, I believe they deserve to be number 1. But Ohio State is not far off. Ohio State, you can call them a 1B if you really want to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're the top.
We're splitting hairs.
They're a top seed. They're not going to play LSU in the first round. It doesn't matter. It's a wash anyway. So you're either going to play a 3rd seed, 4th seed. Either way, it doesn't matter. And there's no home game. When you get to the national championship, there's no home game. It's not like, we're playing at Ohio Stadium, right? No, you're not. You're just playing, so who cares what seed you are, to be honest. Here's my scenario. This is where I'm going to prove that college football is a little bit BS sometimes, okay? So we're going to look at the University of Alabama's schedule compared to the University of Minnesota's schedule. And I'm going to show you that Minnesota should be ranked ahead of Alabama right now.
Wow.
And I'm gonna say the schedules, and I'm gonna let you tell me why Alabama should not be ranked below Minnesota. So here is Alabama's schedule, okay? And granted, Minnesota has 0 losses. Alabama has 1. So even another reason why. Okay. So Alabama has beaten Duke, New Mexico State, South Carolina, Southern Mississippi, Ole Miss. They won at Texas A&M by a number of points. They beat Tennessee, Arkansas, lost to number 1 LSU, and didn't look great in that game.
All right.
Okay, 1 loss.
Bring on Minnesota. Minnesota.
Minnesota They beat South Dakota State, obviously FCS team, but they're actually highly ranked. Not that, just saying more like that's more of like a normal win. I don't want to extend on that. So they beat a Division II team, Fresno State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Illinois, Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland, and they beat the number 4 team in the nation, Penn State. Why is Minnesota not ranked right now ahead of Alabama?
Alabama's in the SEC.
Okay, fair point. But so let's say
that was pretty easy, wasn't it?
Here's my example though. So Minnesota still has to play at Iowa, very tough place to play. Northwestern, that will be a win, and versus Wisconsin, tough. If they're able to go undefeated in that scenario, they then play Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. But so let's go back to Alabama.
They're remaining steps.
Yeah, they play at Mississippi State, should be a win. At a Division II team, and not a good one, in Western Carolina. And then they're at Auburn, who will be ranked in the middle of the card, kind of where Wisconsin and Iowa are in the ranks. And they will not play in the championship game, barring a catastrophic 2 losses for LSU at the end of the season, which folks will not happen. So let's say Minnesota loses to Ohio State. They're undefeated
in the Big Ten Championship
game. They're undefeated, beat the number 4 team, lost to Ohio State. Alabama, 1-loss team. So
that means Alabama beats Auburn.
They beat Auburn.
At Auburn.
They would have beaten Texas A&M. Auburn lost to LSU. Minnesota would have beaten Penn State, beaten Iowa, beaten Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then, and that's there. But I guarantee Alabama's still ahead of them.
Pick me, I have an answer.
Yeah.
It depends on, and when we are saying that Minnesota will lose to Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, it depends on the loss, on how they lose.
Okay.
If they get blown out by Ohio State, by Minnesota, you're out.
And that's
if it's competitive and they lose by a field goal or potentially a touchdown, and there's maybe some controversy, but Minnesota's playing very well, then I think the committee has a lot tougher time keeping them out. But I just think, unfortunately, it comes down to how Minnesota would play in that Big Ten Championship.
But here's the difference. I get it. If they get killed, at that point, again, you're proving that you don't deserve to be in the thing because you can't even get close to one team.
Which is right there.
Yes. But you're right. If this is, even a 10-point game in that Big Ten Championship game, even a 2-touchdown game, when you look at it, Minnesota would have beaten more ranked teams than Alabama, and Alabama would not have beaten a great team the whole season.
Auburn.
No, but if Auburn's ranked 16th or 17th, that's similar to Iowa, and that's similar to Wisconsin. I mean, they're ranked. We can't just say because they're
listen, you bring up a great argument. Great argument.
We'll see in a couple weeks. I hope Minnesota runs the table just so I can just hammer and nail and say that.
What we are saying is stay tuned to the Cover 2 podcast because in the next few weeks we will have all of this kind of sorted out. It's going to be a fun last few weeks for college football. I believe there's 2 or 3 weeks left in the regular season, and then we will get to the championship games and then finally to the bowl season. So a lot to unravel as of right now. The top 4 teams are LSU sits at number 1, Ohio State sits at number 2, Clemson, the undefeated Clemson, who has played absolutely no one this year, sits at number 3, and Georgia is sitting at number 4.
Now here, I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
And they can be answered quickly. If LSU's only loss this season is to number 4 Georgia, are they still in?
Yes.
Okay.
They beat 3.
And by the way, that would eliminate Alabama 100%.
Yeah, no, LSU would have to have some type of catastrophic. Joe Burrow would have to get hurt. I don't see that happening.
And then again, the debate would be there's no way we put Alabama above LSU.
Yeah, no, LSU is in a sense.
Alabama's got to be rooting for LSU this season.
Wow, who would ever say that?
And then this probably should be this would be an easy answer. Ohio State, Clemson, if they lose a game, are they out? Let's say Ohio State's only loss is to Minnesota.
I think Ohio still in.
Okay.
That's you know what, that's tough though, because and here's the thing, and I think we if you're going to lose a game, it is a lot better to lose at the beginning of the season, because you then have multiple games and basically an entire season to make up for that and to make yourselves look good to the committee. The later in the season that you lose, that is more fresh in the committee's mind, and you don't necessarily have games to make up for
also, when there's no preseason in college football.
Exactly.
So a lot of times, I've always said this: you lose the first game of the year, and you go undefeated. You probably should be in the Final Four, because that first loss, especially if it's to a somewhat tough team or a rival.
Thank you. Depending on who it is.
Now, if you lose to New Mexico State, you're done. Done. Unless you literally blew out everybody by 60 the rest of the season. Okay, and you beat some really good teams. But that's why Oregon's only lost to Auburn, first game of the season, neutral site, and they've run the table, and they're
deservingly where they are,
and they've taken care of everybody, and that's why they're number 6. And I gave a shout, even though their schedule is probably not as difficult as some other teams. You have one loss to a very, very solid team, a team that will be ranked at the end of the season, in Auburn, the first game of the season. That's better than, say, losing to Auburn in Week 8 or Week 9 when you've had time and it's the regular season. You should be ready to play. But that's so if Ohio State does lose to Minnesota, you still think they're in?
I think they are, man. They like you said, they've blown out almost everyone the entire
I'm not arguing with you on
their
that point.
talent level, you can stack that against any team.
Yeah.
I
guarantee the committee puts Alabama ahead of them. I guarantee it. For no reason, too. And Alabama or Ohio State would have played Michigan. They would have played. Do they play Penn State this week?
No, they
might. They might. Let me just check this out.
I don't believe so. They
do. No, they do.
They do.
Okay. So then that's out.
And they played Wisconsin.
So if they played Penn State and they played at Michigan and
Ohio State's still in, man. I mean, listen, right now
they beat Wisconsin by 31.
Listen, LSU, Ohio State. Both these teams right now are sitting in the driver's seat, and it's like obviously they're not trying to lose, but even if they lose a game, as long as it's close, I think the committee still has to put them in.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100%.
They are sitting in the they have the golden ticket, right? This is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Especially LSU has beaten,
and these
Auburn.
two teams have the golden ticket to the championship right now.
This is why I say this. LSU's in. Okay, they've beaten Texas.
When they were ranked top 10.
Well, they're still ranked though.
When they were top 10.
They've beaten Florida, top 10 team. They've beaten Auburn,
when they were top 10
team, and beat at Alabama.
When they were top 10.
Okay, so they're in. The remaining schedule is Mississippi, or is Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M. They should take care of all this.
Win.
And then they play Georgia, and again, they could probably sit through a Burrow.
Basically, what we're saying is we are now Tigers fans.
Yeah.
No, we're not, but we are all in on the LSU Tigers making it as one of the 4 teams in the college football championship.
I think we both agree that if Clemson loses any game for the rest of the season, Alabama
should be
out. Yeah, and we talk enough crap about Alabama, but if Clemson loses any single game this season, they're out. Because Alabama's schedule is more difficult.
Exactly.
And a loss to LSU puts you ahead. And they've blown out opponents, but they did have that close game against, I believe it was North Carolina this year, which should have never happened. So, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about as far as these rankings go? I think
that was a lot to unravel right there.
And by the way, there's a huge game that has ramifications for all this. Georgia and Auburn play this week. And
where is that game?
I believe. Give me a second.
That is a big game because obviously last week with LSU,
it's a big game with Auburn.
Everyone was so enamored with that game, and it was like, oh my gosh, this weekend everyone gets to exhale, and there's not really a big. And then oh my gosh, Georgia and Auburn.
It's at Auburn.
At Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So man, they got Georgia and Alabama in 3 weeks, man. That's tough. Yeah. So let's say Auburn wins, right? That helps out.
Stop it,
but
man.
That helps out Oregon.
Throwing out way too many scenarios. My brain hurts right now.
No. But I'm saying for Alabama's sake, if they go in and let's say they beat a number 7 and number 6 Auburn team, that does change the stakes a little bit. When you look at the comparisons to a lot of other teams.
Okay, so you're saying Alabama is actually rooting
for Auburn and LSU
to be as high as they can.
If you're a Crimson Tide fan,
you are rooting
I know
for your rival.
I know a couple of them too. Some from Alabama, some from not that went there. But still, you need to be rooting for the LSU Tigers and Coach O. Shout out Coach O. Go Tigers. And you need to be cheering for the Auburn. So you just need to be a Tigers
they're
fan.
two biggest. They're two biggest rivals.
You need to be rooting for them until you play them.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's gotta be tough.
No, you have to though.
That's what happens when you lose a game and you are put into a position where you have to, basically survive and rely on other teams to get you in.
But then again, like I'm saying, Oregon's only loss is to Auburn. If Auburn, come.
We need to end this because there are so many scenarios going on now.
I love this too. We could have a whole podcast.
We could do this all day long. But tune in next week. I guarantee we will have the updated rankings when they come out next Tuesday. We will have a lot more talk like this as far as the top 4 teams, where Alabama is, and if anyone should be bumped into the top 4 depending on how these teams play this upcoming weekend.
Yes.
But for today, thank you for joining us. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we talked about the Houston Astros and their, 2 years ago, their potential cheating scandal and how it affects them now. Colin Kaepernick will be having a workout on Saturday. We will have all that news for you next week and the updated college football rankings. I'm Jared Smith.
I'm Nick Dean.
This has been the Cover 2 Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.